chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you all for being with us as we look ahead for the Easter weekend. One of normally the best weekends of football where things happen, things start moving, things get exciting, unless you support Rotherham United this season. And then we just look forward to a couple of games, which we can maybe enjoy. Mick, first of all, how are we?
I'm all good, mate. Thank you. Are you?
Very, very good. Thank you very much. I haven't seen you 2 days ago. 2 days? Yeah. Three times this week. And Tom's back. Tom's been away. How are things going, Tom?
Yeah, no, good. Good time away. Have I missed much?
No.
Not much. Yeah, no, nothing happened. As usual. No, it's a good break, and excited to see what the next couple of games have in store.
Absolutely.
You deserved it, Tom. I mean, it's only 2 weeks since you last went away, isn't it? So
I know.
You must be exhausted.
I don't even have any comeback to that. I wish I did, but I'm just relax as much as I can, I guess.
Yeah.
Taking stick about being lazy from the man that is currently retired.
Listen, I'm embracing unemployment, and I've slipped into it seamlessly.
Like you've done it your whole life.
Right. Let us say hello to everybody in the comments. We have loads with us. We have Kelly Wilson's with us about Wilks. We will talk about Malik Wilks. Terry Tim says, evening 1-0. Happy Millers. Just give him a chance. As we did Paul Ward. Look how that turned out. He's another Rotherham United man. YouTube user says, good evening 1-0. Happy Easter with 6 points. Stevie Mick and Martin Holland are with us as well. Richie Woods says, evening all. Would you believe he's coming back? We'll talk about that as well. Steve Grundy is with us as well, as is a lot of people. Tom, first of all, you obviously weren't here for the brief emergency pod we did a couple of days ago with the news that Matt Hamshaw has been appointed on a 3-year contract. What's your feelings towards that?
Yeah, it was inevitable. I think is probably the key word. I think it was, I mean, look, if you agree with it or not, in terms of, if you think he's the best man for the job, there's no doubt that the sort of feeling of the club being back to where it should be is how everyone feels now. It's a sort of colloquial feel that everyone's, in the same boat as, we all think he's a bloke who gets it, and the club is clearly performing better these last few games, Stockport second half aside, especially. He's getting a tune out of the players. So he was talking about, things he was setting in place for next season. So I think it would have been silly if he wasn't the man in charge next season. In all honesty, so delighted with it. And I think his coach, whoever he brings in his coaching staff, should be equally as enthusiastic and optimistic for the job. And whatever he says in press is just the right thing. And you can tell he means it. It's not quite Evans's stuff where he sort of says the right thing, but you sort of know that there's no real intention behind it. With Hamshaw, he feels like there's a plan there, and what he's saying is good, and you kind of like where it's going, and you believe him, which is always a positive.
Yeah. I think also we believe him is there's no history with him. There's no last time he lied all the time, or whatever the case may be. And I think that would even if the case we talked about Paul Warne coming back, Nick, even if you'd brought something like Warney back, you would have always been harking back to, last time he said this and acted this way and did this, that, and the other. And we talked about when Steve Evans left, maybe it's a good thing to get a brand new. It's weird. It's a brand new person who we don't really know, so we're learning. Ben's gone. We're learning. He's learning everything else that comes with it. But at the same time, you have the benefits of knowing the club and knowing everything inside that. It's quite a good mix of negative-free energy, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's good for us all, and hopefully we'll be able to get away from talking about the manager and talk about the football. Because pretty much while ever Warney was here, while ever Liam Richardson was here, we only talked about the football and what was going off on the pitch. Matt Taylor got a little bit more attention from us as supporters, and obviously the last 12 months have been the Steve Evans show. So it'd be nice to get away from that And I think Matt Hamshaw is the kind of bloke that he doesn't want to take centre stage. That's not his. That doesn't appear to be his barra. He's a coach, and I think he'll just want to get on with coaching, and he'll do the media stuff. But it's going to be about the team. So he's a first-time coach, and it is taking a chance. It is, without a doubt, but he's got the right credentials. So it's whether he's going to be able to step up into management, as we talked about on Tuesday, and we've got to support him. We've got to support him in that. He's going to make mistakes, like we said on Tuesday. He will make mistakes. There is no doubt about it. Like Warney did, like all first-time managers do. But we've banged on about the DNA of the club, and I'm not. It's not really. It's a bit of a cliche, really, because every club talks that way, don't they? But out of everybody, this man does get it, and he gets it because it's his club, like it's our club. That might become a millstone around his neck. It did for Paul Warne. And if you listen to those podcasts that were done during that promotion season, you could see and hear that it did become a big millstone around his neck, the pressure. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out in Matt Hamshaw, but the right decision in my view, absolutely.
Yeah. What I would say about Hamshaw is he doesn't seem as emotional as Paul Warne. Warne was everything in, my heart's kind of on the line with this club. But Hamshaw seems a bit more reserved, but at the same time coming across as a good guy as well. It may well be a good mix. And being with Paul Warne and working for Paul Warne and seeing what he went through, might be a good thing for him because he's learning what not to do, what's the right and wrong thing to do, hopefully, as you often see with assistants. So as Warne learned from some others, some really good managers and some really bad managers as well. Steve says, is this the best thing that could have happened this year? Finishing higher and we still have short-term thinking. That's a really interesting point, that, Tom. Really, really interesting point, because we've talked about this for a long time. We talked about this last year when we were getting relegated, that maybe we just need a couple of years just to finish mid-table, be really boring, take a step back and build. It's difficult to do that when you promised certain things at the start of the season. But Steve's right. If Steve Evans would have had a finishing 8th, but still 7 points outside playoffs, we'd still be able to have Steve Evans here looking towards next season with a short-term thinking. Now the club's kind of been forced into a different path. So, this depends how it turns out, obviously. Yeah. But Steve, right, this might actually end up being, the terrible season we've had might actually end up being a good thing in the end.
Yeah, and with the players that he's got, how we didn't finish higher than within the playoff reach is astounding, really, to think about it. Is you would have had to been a seriously poor management and poor tactical to bring this group of players as far down as they have been. So yeah, it's a weirdly good thing that we were as bad as we were this season. Tony Stewart has, in my opinion, clearly been opting for Evans ever since Paul Warne left. So to now have had his man for a year, a whole 365 days or 362, whatever it was, seeing how bad it was with the caliber of players and the wage and the transfer structure and although it wasn't what people wanted in regards to how much it was, it's still the biggest it's ever been at the club. And him to not only not succeed, but to send the club into a downward spiral, I think is a good thing. So you can never have him back now, because it's proof that he is not the man now or ever for the role. So as Steve said, it's a good thing that we finished as low down as we did and had to make drastic decisions and of those bring in someone who looks up to the part. And I didn't even know, but I read today that he was being sought after by clubs in the Premier League to be a coach. So he's clearly held in high esteem. So we should be grateful. We should be grateful that he's chosen us.
Yeah, I didn't expect that, to be honest with you. That was a weird bit of information, but another bit of positive. Look, good coaches don't always make good managers. We've seen that. How many times have we seen that where the guy who's been well thought of behind the scenes ends up being a complete disaster as a manager? So hopefully Matt Hamshaw isn't going to be one of the guys that's a really good start. But the test of the man is yet to come. 4 games left though, Mick. Starting with Mansfield, coming to Mansfield in a little bit. So for these 4 games, what are we looking for? Is what you're looking for now different than what you were looking for in the last 4 games in terms of because he is now the man going forward?
Not really. Just the development on what we've seen, on the improvements we've seen already. It's a difficult situation for him for these last 4 games, to be fair, because obviously a lot of these players are probably not going to be here next season. So he's going to have to concentrate more so, I would think, on the players that are going to be here. So we might see some changes. I don't know. But it's just a question of seeing the 4 games out with the continued improvement that we've seen while since Evans has gone. So the results, I don't know whether the results matter or not. I don't think they do particularly. It's just the levels of performance and let's see a little bit of progress. Can we see a bit of progress in 4 games? I don't know. With players, again, like I say, we're not going to be here. It's a bit of a strange situation, isn't it? So I'm looking forward to going to a game. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's good.
That's got to be an improvement, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's got to be an improvement because it's been. There have been times when I just not wanted to go, particularly this season. It's been an absolute toil, and it shouldn't be like that. It should not be like that. And I know we as football fans we go through phases like that, don't we? We all do. All clubs, well, most clubs. But it just feels like it's been relentless for quite some time now.
Yeah, absolutely does. Caleb says Hamshaw will be a very hands-on manager on the grass. He'll do a lot of coaching, which is right. Steve Mick says he'll always have a soft spot for Crawley now. This is when we go on to get into Europe in 5 years' time. And when you tell the story of how Rotherham ended up getting to Europe, it starts with a 4-0 defeat at home to Crawley.
Yeah.
Great story to tell.
What planet are you on, man?
Baby steps.
Yeah,
I said 5 or so years time, long time. So but it would be a great start to a good story.
You'll be stood on Town Hall steps with Tony Stewart next May, promising Premier League again.
Yeah. It is a weird one, Tom, because like Mick says, there's a lot of these players that aren't going to be here this year. Hacks and Cam Humphreys are probably not going to be here. Malik Wilks, as we'll come on to, is probably not going to be here. So that midfield's not going to be here as well. What I'd say is, give some fringe players a go, because then you can see what they want to be. There aren't really any fringe players to bring in other than Coyote, who's coming back from injury. We've got to be careful with. There's nobody to bring in and have a look at, is there? He's got to play what he's got to play at a minute.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of players leaving in the summer, and loan players especially will hurt us. But I think of the players of the caliber that we sort of have, I think you can still get a starting 11 out of them for next season if they all, stage. Hugo and Nombe up front, and James and someone out wide, and Raggett, Jules, Rafferty at the back, and a midfield 3 of Kelly, Powell, and McWilliams isn't necessarily a bad foundation to start off with. But I mean, there's got to be a lot of recruitment done in the summer, and I think whether or not these sort of fringe players we had managed to make their way into the squad, fringe players, I think, in my opinion, the likes of Duncan, Douglas, Hull, as the sort of the youth players, if any of them manage to sneak their way into the side, I think you still need a lot of recruitment this summer, because we're just bare bones, complete and utter bare bones, and have been since the start of the season. I think we've spoken about it, especially the lack of strategy when signing players in the last 2 transfer windows has been so evident. When you're out to try and get a striker for 6 months, 12 months, when you have literally 2 centre halves fit, and 2 of them that apparently aren't even centre halves. So it's really tough to make do with what he's got, and he's doing so far so good. Stockport aside, I think they just I obviously wasn't on, so I just think that personally they just tore us apart. I don't know what everyone else said. I've not really seen what most other people said. I think that second half they were just better than us, and we were just quite fatigued, quite poor. But also I think we've got to have players that can change the system, because as you saw with Stockport, they brought on 2 sort of central midfielder players for a winger and for 2 wingers and absolutely dominated us in central areas. And we brought on Kelly, who hasn't been fit for a week. So it shows complete disparity between where we need to be and where we need to be at, really. So I think, like I said, I think we've got a good foundation, but I think there's got to be a lot of recruitment and smart recruitment in the summer, because you can't just go out and spend a lot of money on few players. You can't spend a lot of money on a lot of players. You got to be really clever with it. And I hope that Rob Scott, Paul Warren connection that we saw can sort of be replicated in finding some true gems this summer and going forward.
Yeah, let's hope so. We mentioned, like I said before, that there's, if you include loans, there's 12 players out of contract in the summer. 8 permanent, 4 loans. You've also got some permanent players who may want to move on. How much different do you think, Mick, the summer's going to look now in terms of Hamshaw? I don't necessarily mean the Hamshaw's going to bring younger players in. That's obvious. But do you think we'll see more players that are here contracted leaving, or less players contracted who will? I think the out contract, I think we've all nailed as close to mass really with them, I think. But for the in-contracted players, that's what was going to be the question, wasn't it? Because if Evans are still here, Johnson Clark-Harris is almost certainly still here, for example. So how much different do you think summer's going to be now with the contracted players?
I think it's going to be very different. I don't think a lot of these players would fit into Matt Hamshaw's plans longer term. I mean, as a group and not as individuals. So I'm not digging anybody out here, but as a group, I don't think they fit into anybody's plans. Because they don't gel as a group, or they haven't gelled as a group, and they don't. The way that each of the players plays as individuals doesn't necessarily complement each other to make up a team. Evans has just gone out and got what he could get, and saw some names that he liked and threw it all together and just turned his back on it and hoped it worked. So, yeah, it depends. I can't see. It's not going to be. I can't see there being sort of 11 or 8 or 9 of the contracted players sold, but I think some will be. I think the loan players will go back. I don't see us being able to afford to keep any of them. We'll come on to a couple of that, I'm sure, at some point. But so I think it is going to look, but it is going to look very, very different to what it would have looked like had the managerial change not happened. Because again, I think it probably would have just been another scattergun approach. If we can find somebody that people have heard of, bring them in as a marquee signing, and then just throw a couple more in there with no real plan. I would hope, and I would think, and I would expect that there will be some planning done.
You'd hope so. Corey Earl says, I reckon Matt will start afresh, which I agree. John Morell, but rightly points out, you're going to find a buying club for some of these players. Johnson Clark-Harris being who is going to take Johnson Clark-Harris off our hands? In their right mind, he's going to do that. They're not. And
also, if he's gone in a year anyway, nobody's going to come in for him, and that's just a reality of the situation. I think that the position we've been put in with every single player signed in the last year on a 2-year contract, it puts us in a position where we're not going to be able to sell any players. And that's just the brutal reality, is that every player we have at the club now is going to be at the club, maybe barring Nombe. That's the only player I can see being sold, because he goes on he's a little bit later than a year, 2 years maybe. 2 years left on his contract.
2.
So he's the only player I can see really being truly sold for a profit. So, or not even a profit, just truly sold for any kind of money. Everyone else, no one will come in for them in their right minds, unfortunately.
No, I imagine with some players it'll be a matter of trying to be creative and offloading players if you can. I love this, both of you, with the players you've got available, and we don't really know how Matt Hamshaw's going to play, but I think we've got an idea. Who in this current squad tells you that they are a Matt Hamshaw player? And I'll start by saying the first one I can think of is Joe Powell, just because the set piece quality he's got. And the significant improvement we've seen in set pieces already. I think Joe Powell, and he's a good player, to be fair. His all-round play is actually really, really good, Joe Powell. So Joe Powell is one for me where I can say if Matt Hamshaw had a choice, I think he would sign him, never mind keep him at the club. who else at the club that's going to be? Do you think you could see?
Zach Jules, I think, is absolutely a Hamshaw kind of player. I'm basing that on what when he was here before. I think Zach Jules is right up there. Much like Cam Humphreys and Akeem Adoffin. We'll have to wait and see on that. I think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion, but you never know. Certainly Zach Jules. He's a more modern player, isn't he?
Yeah. I agree with both of them, and I also think McWilliams. I think McWilliams is a sort of bite and tenacity that you kind of epitomizes a I'm going to call it Matt Hamshaw style, but we all know that it's whatever style it is, that aggressive front foot. I think he epitomizes that, and I think another player that's really surprised me. If he can add more goals to his game, he can be a really impactful player. Really, really impactful.
Yeah. Corey Earl says, I have hope in Joe Powell. He's the only one that stood out for him. Sean Raggett says, Harry, if he can stay fit, goes hand in hand with set pieces. Killeth was saying he'll be fine with James, who's been heavily involved during his time with Warney. Reece James has been probably one of the standout players since Matt Hamshaw's come in. He's been fantastic in that wing back role, Reece James.
I still think his pace lacks.
His pace lets him down.
Yeah.
But he's clever though, isn't he? He's the opposite of Cohen Bramwell. Bramwell were lightning, but a bit thick. Whereas Reece James seems really clever. Footballing wise, I'm sure outside football is clever.
Yeah, I get that out later.
You're not disagreeing with me, though, are you?
Yeah, I think he lacked a little bit of vision. I think is probably what you're trying to say. He lacked a footballing brain in the sense that he wasn't as quick. Yeah, you're right. Fair enough. I'm digging a bigger hole. I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah,
he didn't know where to be on the pitch. His positioning was really off.
Yeah,
he didn't read the game. That's it. There we go. We got there. He didn't read the game as well as other players.
Yeah. Okay. But James is kind of the opposite. James seems really smart with his movement, but he's just ain't got the pace that Conor Bramwell's got. Is the point I was getting to. Sean Raggett's an interesting one, Mick, because I know you're not Sean Raggett's biggest fan, but there is the Richard Woods about him. I think, and it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because he is that bulldozer kind of thing that Richard Wood was. I just wonder about his all-round game. I just don't know. I really want him to do well, but I'm just not sure.
I don't. I think we could say the same thing about him as we just said about Conor Bramwell.
Yeah.
And Richard Wood reads the game incredibly well, and Richard Wood made up 9 times out of 10 made up for his lack of pace by reading the game very, very well. I feel we've not seen enough of Sean Raggett really, to be fair, to comment with any sort of authority really. But from what I have seen of him, I don't think he reads the game very well. I think he gets caught out too often. I agree. He's dangerous on set pieces and he wins headers and so on and so forth, which is part and parcel of that position. But this season he's been made of glass. Whether that's just unlucky, players have those kind of seasons, and he may turn it around for next year. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. I don't think that he's got what it takes. Personally, that's just my view, and that's a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, last season won title with Portsmouth, or got promoted. It just don't feel right. There's just something there that I'm not comfortable with.
Yeah.
What can I ask you? Sorry, Matt. Can I ask you quickly though? Because in my opinion, I sort of agree with what you're saying, but I also think that if you look back at the goals that we've conceded this season, and a lot of them, and I'm not trying to give Evans credit here, but a lot of them, I think, with a Sean Raggett type player, not conceded. Peterborough's 3 goals in that game earlier this year. I mean, those are the 3 that stick in my head. But there's a lot of goals that, in my opinion, we wouldn't have conceded really with someone of his ilk. The Wickham game. Sorry, off the top of my head, I can't think of many. But going through the season,
you might be right. But what I would say is that had he been playing in place of Akeem Adoffin, would have conceded a lot more.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Players that are going around back of him. The issue with Raggett for me is, and I think Kelly's put it in the comments. He turns like a London bus, and he does. He's got that Harry Maguire ability to turn, which doesn't exist. He's just of that ilk, and I'm not sure. But I have to caveat that by saying we've not really seen that much of him, have we? But what I have seen, those my sort of observations from that, and I don't think it's quick enough.
No. And if you go back to the Richard Wood comparison, certainly early on in his Rotherham career, how many games did it take Richard Wood to get up to speed? It was sometimes 5 or 6 games, weren't it?
Yeah.
And you kind of put up with quite a lot of rubbish, and then it kind of got going again. So it may well be just one of those things. Harry says he was always thrown into the deep end, and when he came on into the side, Raggett, because Evans needed him, so he wasn't really match fit at times. So that may have played a part as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We'll see. Look, if you can get somebody a player in the mould of Sean Raggett working well, they're hell of an asset. We've seen it with Richard Wood. They are hell of assets, but then you've got to get it right. If you don't get it right, and again, going back to Woody, how many times did we get it wrong with Woody? And Woody got himself isolated, and we looked terrible and conceded soft goals. So it's just about getting it right, and then hopefully we can see some positives. I don't think we'll see him before the end of the season. There's been no pre-match presser because obviously the presser on Tuesday with the announcement of the measure. So there's no team news. I know McWilliams and Jules were relatively close, weren't they? Or back in training a couple of weeks ago, a week or so ago. So maybe there is potential for some more players to be available this week. Dan Gore's back next week. It's exciting, isn't it?
What's the point?
We might get 2 games out of him.
Yeah,
2.5 for the Cal Birmingham game, which now seems a complete waste of time. John Morell says, calling people thick and not being able to read the game. I thought you were still talking about your ex-manager still. Yeah. The country says, Raggett scares me to death. Looks like he's going to get sent off every game. He makes mistakes, but was one of the few putting his body on the line in the first few games he played. Yeah, that's what he gives you. He gives you that aggression, I suppose. I don't know what the word is, but he certainly does give you that. Right, let's touch on Malik Wilks now, Tom. I don't think talk of Malik Wilks staying was ever serious, to be honest with you. But it's kind of taken a turn today where the man that hasn't played outside of Yorkshire is now being linked with every country in Southern Europe. A couple of Cypriot teams, I think a Bulgarian team as well. Was it ever realistic he was going to come back here anyway, do you think?
Tough to say. You don't know behind the scenes, do we? But he seems to enjoy it, and he seems to enjoy playing with the players that are there. They seem to get on really well in those pre-game sort of videos and pictures that they take. Would I want him back for what he's worth? No. For what he can give, maybe, yeah. I'd argue so. I think if you can get the best out of Malik Wilks for a whole season, he will be the difference between sending you up automatically or winning the playoffs for you. I think he's that good, especially in League One. He's got a certain quality and arrogance, and everything about him is sort of, it exceeds League One level. But for what he was worth, he would have been the highest paid by what feels like a mile, wage wise. And from what we've seen of him this season, he doesn't give his capabilities consistently enough. So personally, I'd have to have said no. I wouldn't have taken him. For what you can get with him, you could probably get 2 other decent players who will put in a shift and this, that, and the other. So I think for him, the cons outweighed the pros. So yeah, I wouldn't have been upset if he signed, but I'm equally not too fussed if he's going elsewhere.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think for a club like us with our budget, you can't really take a risk on somebody with such high wages, or we think it is. If you're Wrexham, you can maybe take that risk because you've got that room in the budget, and you can pay $10K a week for a guy who's going to turn up every 2 or 3 games. Because like Tom says, he is the game changer. For us, I just don't think we can carry that on a permanent wage, on what would be a very, very high wage. I just don't think we can carry his inconsistency for the value that we would have to pay him, basically.
Yeah, I might be just saying this. I think he probably feels he's a bit better than Rotherham United.
Possibly.
And well, we've all said this. On his day, he absolutely is. It's unfortunate that his day only comes around once a month, kind of thing. So I don't think he's a Matt Hamshaw kind of player. I don't think he's no. Let me rephrase that. On his day, when he's playing well, he would be. But he's not. It doesn't. I think mentally, I don't think his approach is suitable, to be honest with you. And also his wage demands are going to be huge because obviously them down at Swillsbury have been paying stupid money when they can be bothered to pay, obviously. So I can't see him staying. I can't see us pushing too hard to get him to stay. Might be wrong, of course, but that's my view. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and also for his sake, it'd be nice to go play football in Cyprus for a couple of years, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get paid a fortune because over there he'll have a whale of a time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think personally, if I was him, that'd be what I'd be doing. He's got a couple of promotions under his belt, a few years out in Sun, and he'll come back in 2 or 3 years' time with a load of money under his belt and can walk into any League One club again. So I think for him, it makes perfect sense to go and have a bit of fun on the continent.
Don't get me wrong. I know Nathan's putting this comments there sounding a bit harsh. He's quality. He is absolutely. Yeah. He is a quality footballer, but he's not consistent enough. And he goes missing too many times in games. And we're not a team that are can or are going to be able to carry a luxury player, because I think arguably because of his inconsistency, that's what he is. But he's quality footballer, no doubt about it.
The problem is with Wilks, and this is kind of the opposite with Chio. Wilks's best is ridiculous. It's championship. His best is mid-table championship level. The problem is his low is not far off League Two level. The gap's too big, and it very rarely is between. Whereas what you saw with Chio was, on his day, was a Premier League player. On his bad days, he was still a very good, at worst, a very, very good League One player. So the gap was much, much smaller for Chio than it is for Malik Wilks, and I think that's the problem, and that's the risk you've got to decide: is that risk worth taking?
I also don't think he's a striker, and I know he's played all right there and he's had flashes. I don't think he's a striker. I think he's a winger, and he's not a right wing back, and that's what Hamshaw's going to go for next season. So he don't fit into the squad either, unfortunately, or the team itself.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Fair point. It's a really fair point. We're all saying he's gone missing, but he's gone missing as a striker when he should be out on wing. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Take it all back.
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, because you've got to talk about what we've seen, and whether he's playing on wing or as a striker, he still needs to be involved in games, doesn't he? And he's not been too many times.
Well, Terrafim says, how many do you think we will keep in the summer? No names, just numbers. But the current squad, we've mentioned 3 people. Is there anybody else you can think that I'm sure Joe Rafferty? But again, how does Rafferty fit in? If you are going to play a 3-5-2, how does Rafferty fit into that?
I don't know.
Anybody else?
Difficult. It's so difficult, isn't it? And numbers. I mean, how many first team players have we got in squad? 12.
12, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I thought that would be a ridiculous exaggeration at one point, but it isn't. No, we're filling a bench with 6 players, 4 of whom are academy graduates, and one's a goalkeeper, and the other one's an experienced player. It's bare bones, absolute bare bones, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because it gives them the new management team the opportunity to stick with what you've got if you have to, and add to it.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Harry says Louis Sibley played under Hamshaw at Derby. He did, but he also left while Matt Hamshaw was there. And he chose to leave. I might be wrong, but I think he was offered a contract to stay. And he turned it down and went to Oxford. So we'll see. The contract players that are in contract would be Cam Dawson, Zach Jules, Sean Raggett, Reece James, Joe Rafferty, Sean McWilliams, Liam Kelly, Joe Powell, and Johnson Clark Harris and Hugel are your players in contract for another year.
Did you mention Nombe in there?
No, I missed Nombe and Nombe as well. Sorry, yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
You need to be looking at keeping them all.
Yeah.
Apart from Clark Harris.
Yeah.
I would try and offload if I could. Because
Yeah.
I absolutely don't think he would fit into that that setup. That setup that in actual fact we don't know what it's going to be, so maybe he will. I don't know.
We're assuming 3-5-2, aren't we?
Yeah.
Trevor 92 argument Williams will be a lot better than right wing back than Rafferty. Again, good shout.
He's got the pace.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's a really good shout because he's got the pace. He can put a wicked ball in.
Yeah,
and he's got the aggression.
Yeah, he might make a good one.
It's whether the question is I mean, it's a lot more to it than that, obviously, particularly from a defensive point of view. But who knows?
Man Miller says, "Is Woody set to be part of Matt's coaching team?" Now that has been kept under wraps at the moment. We've seen a few names linked with. I think we'll probably talk about this. We've seen it on social media that Dale Tong has been linked with the assistant manager's job. He's currently I think he's at Peterborough, but it's difficult to tell you. It's not, when there's a player, you go onto Google and it automatically tells you where this player is. Google cares less about coaches and assistant managers, as it turns out. So it's difficult to tell. I think he's at Peterborough. But again, I can't find any records of this. I think Dale Tong briefly worked with him at Derby. I remember seeing Dale Tong on telly at Derby, but I can't find any evidence of this online. So I may well have. If somebody can confirm this in the comments, I think Dale Tong worked with him at Derby, but so somebody could find out for me, or just know. If somebody can know some information, that'd be great. That's a very Rotherham heavy backroom staff, that Mick. Dale Tong was here for 8 years, I think. Andy Warrington was probably here for 8 years as well. Richard Wood was here for 9 years, I think, as well. So it's a very Rotherham heavy, but again, it's a group of people that are very, very well highly thought of. Woody less so, because we don't know. But Dale Tong's been around the block. He's been at Hearts, Barnsley, Peterborough, possibly Derby. It's an experienced group he's bringing in with him, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Potentially. Experienced, well thought of group. Untested a little bit, I guess, as far as the management team are concerned. But everybody's got to start somewhere. So, but again, you're looking at people who understand the football club, who have got an affiliation. Understand the football club's a bit of a nonsense, really, isn't it? Football club's a football club. They've got an affiliation to the club. They've had some good times here. It's a happy place for them, if you like, in modern day speak, isn't it? Which is a bonus. So, yeah, I would have no objection to Dale Tong. I think I know, like you say, he's quite well thought of in coaching circles, and he was a good player for us as well. So, I don't know. We just watch this space. Yeah,
if he's in, like I said, I think it seems like he is in contract at Peterborough by the sounds of it. So it'll be a summer jobby. If it is him, there's other ones potentially linked as well. Martin Holland on a different strand says, would you be happy to see Donny and Bradford in League One next year? Absolutely, Tom. I don't know about you, but any club that brings more than about 500 fans, I'd be really happy to see him in League One. So one of the worst things about this league is the kind of small away tendencies, which sucks our atmosphere a little bit. Let's get some derbies back in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't, and Bradford gave us a good game when we played them in the cup, so you can't even deny that, we'd give them a thrashing because, simply put, I don't think we would. Everything you said, Matt. I think recently what you've seen with Bradford and how many fans they still get, it must be the biggest in Europe for where they are in the football league, like by far. So it'd be absolutely astonishing to have that in the away end. And And it would come with the territory of feeling like you've got your club back and having rivalries back and more atmosphere to the stadium. And I think a lot of fans would turn up, home fans would turn up to come and watch that game. Where, as opposed to if you're playing Shrewsbury or Crawley. So absolutely, I'd be happy with that. And and if you beat them, twice in the season, then bragging rights, So all good. Yeah, I can't see a con with that really.
No, we've got Barnsley will be staying down as well. I'm not sure if it's certain, but since we were ahead of them a few games, I assume it is certain they can't go up. Let's get Dunny in there as well. A couple of South Yorkshire derbies. There's not many massive teams coming around from the Championship potentially. Plymouth never bring loads, although they're a well-spotted club. Luton, if they come down again, they don't bring loads down to New York Stadium, do they, Mick? So, in a weird way, the big clubs to us are coming up rather than down, which is a weird situation. But if you're going to challenge for promotion, that's maybe another good thing that as well.
Depends who comes down with them, doesn't it? I think Cardiff are struggling at the moment, and I think their supporters particularly are quite sort of resigned to the fact that they're going to get relegated. They'll be a big club, obviously, in League One as they have been previously. But they've got problems off the pitch, haven't they? So, I'm not a fan of derbies, as you know. So, get them all out of our league, as far as I'm concerned. Up or down, don't care.
Fair enough. There's still a potential for Hull to come down there. Hull are only 3 points off the relegation zone. It's really close to Championship relegation battle. It's really close.
Have I read today whether every single team in the Championship can either get relegated or promoted still?
Yeah, and there's 3 teams in the middle that can both get relegated or promoted. We've got 4 games left.
So we're not in there. Because if we were, it'd be 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. Notts County are in the mix for promotion as well from League Two. Chesterfield are, probably just a bit out of it, but still within a chance of coming up as well. So good teams coming up potentially from League Two. So let's look forward to next season. Harry says, with Rotherham linked to Hamshaw, if we're in the same position next season as we are this season, would you give him time? And this is interesting, Tom, because for me, it's quite simple. And it depends how you frame it at the start of the season. If Matt Hamshaw says in July, I guarantee we're going to challenge for playoffs, and our aim is to win the league or something along those lines, those are the lines that I will judge him on. If he comes in and says we're going to try and challenge, but it's about stabilisation of the club and planning for the future. If that's the case, then I can accept a season of averageness because I can see the future. And then if the season after the same, then we've got a problem. So it depends on what the framing of the season is from the manager going forward. Do you see that? Do you sit on that or different?
Oh, completely. And and I think he's already said it. If you watch his interview, there was 2 interviews. There was one with Douglas and one without. The one without, if you listen to that and you hear his, and Steve mentioned it before in the comments, if you listen to his version of success, it wasn't league position, it wasn't going up, it was getting the club, making the club a process. I'm paraphrasing. If you want to watch it, go watch it. But it was something along the lines of wanting young, attractive, prospects wanting to play for Rotherham United, having the academy up to scratch and where it should be, having Premier League players want to send their players to Rotherham United, having the fans back on side, having the training facilities up to scratch. That was his idea of success. And I think, in my opinion, if you can keep along that line of this is success, and if you keep striving to that success mark, of course, fans are going to want results, and of course, fans are going to want to go up. But let's be honest here: if we had a freak season this season and went up next season, we would have been in absolute disarray for the next 3 seasons afterward, because something like that is tough to come by. So honestly, if we go next season, we have not a similar season to this season, because I don't think we will. I think we are in such a good mindset, such a better mindset of long-term stability now, that I don't think we will be in this situation next season. But if we're in the same league position next season, 5 games to go and playoffs aren't attainable, I'm not going to be as stressed as this season, because I think if we recruit well and that is again what they've said success looks like to them, recruiting well, signing them young and developing them and then selling them on for profit, if we can maintain that, and that is what is being done, if the league position is what it is, then I personally wouldn't have many quarrels with it, because the next time we go up, I mean, I might be very too long term in this, but the next time we go up, I want to be able to stay up. And I think if we go up even next season, I can't see our chances of staying up the season after being that strong. So, if it takes another 2 seasons in League One, whatever it is, then we will be in a much better position to then stay up in the Championship. And then, you've seen it with a lot of teams. Sometimes teams perform really, really poorly. Luton and who else is down there? Plymouth and stuff like that. Sometimes you do perform, ourselves included, perform poorly, but enough of the time when you go up in the Championship and you stay up for 1 season, you usually stay there for a couple of seasons. Coventry, Millwall, clubs like that who are just sort of mainstays there after coming up from League One. So that's the way that I kind of see it. So, and if they can keep honing that in as that's their version of success, then and proving it as well, not just saying it, but proving it, then for me, league position isn't the be all and end all. If performances were poor, that's another thing as well. But if we're just talking about league position and it's the exact same as next season, then I wouldn't be too fussed if they were managing to maintain success at other areas of the club, which we've not done this season.
Absolutely. Joe Stone says, and we need 100% for the players, less than 85, and needs a good review. And I always use Peterborough as an example for this, Mick. And it's because it's important. It's all right. It's all right saying, right, we want to buy young, sell high kind of thing. Buy low, sell high kind of thing. And I think that's the right way to go in football. And for a club like us who don't want to have too many losses, that's the only way to go. But you've got to make sure the building blocks are to success and not just to constant League One disappointment and the occasional Papa John's, which Peterborough have got. They never seem to get to that next level, whereas we always get to that next level, but we can't stay there. Yeah. We've got to find where that middle ground is between doing what Peterborough do very, very well in terms of finding gems and selling. But you've also got to make sure you try and have that success. Again, not necessarily instantly, but you've got to make sure the building blocks are in place to get that success to get yourself to the Championship and the next level.
Well, you've answered the question, haven't you? You've literally answered the question there. If we're in 16th position with 4 games to go next season, we know what to play for. Do we sack him? Well, not if we've got all that in place. Not at all. I've seen somewhere on social media, somebody said, if we're in 16th position and 5 games to go, we know what to play for, then we've set a precedent now, he's got to go next year. And it's like, well, it's not. How is it ever that black and white?
No.
That just takes away completely the reason we're in the position we're in already. It's got nothing to do with who the manager is. It's to do with what they've done. And the key, like you've absolutely said there, and we've been banging on about it all season, or I have certainly, it's about what's happening behind the scenes and the culture behind the scenes of the club, and our long-term plan of how we're going to achieve what we want to achieve. And we haven't had that since Warney left, frankly. So if we are in this position, no, I wouldn't. It depends, obviously, on where we on everything else that's going off. But I don't think it's a black and white question by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah, agreed. We're in agreement. There we go. John Fellows asks, Jack Holmes, take the year option and hope he develops, or release Tom?
Keep him now. I think under new management, you got to keep him, and that's not even due to how he's performed in these last couple of games. Because I think he's been all right. I think he's been all right playing out of position. He looks really lost and really quiet, like he doesn't really know what his defensive duties are. But look, as a new manager, to come in and a manager who's renowned for coaching players and getting them better, there was no doubt that Jack Holmes had a raw sort of technical talent of dribbling and being aggressive. He's not the quickest, but for me, his technical dribbling was really good. Is really good, and he can beat a man, and he's shown that all season. It's just he got his enthusiasm and his drive battered out of him for one reason or another. I think we all know the reason, but yeah. So I'd take him on. He must be one of, if not the lowest paid person at the club, so I doubt it would hinder us financially, and it'd give him another year to be properly coached and put into a system and a position that he can really thrive in. I think Hamshaw can get the best out of him, and if after a year that best is still not good enough, then you can part ways with him, knowing that you did all you could as a coach and a player. So I don't see why we wouldn't take that on, if I'm being honest. And we need the bodies as well. It's not just about getting anyone in. I know that, but he's been here a year. He knows what it's about now. He's a decent squad player. When he comes on, he can affect the game. He just needs to be properly coached into that.
Yeah, and I think he's the one that I think of the ones that are available, he's the one I want to see for as many minutes as possible in these last 4 games. I don't think we've got much option with anybody else, but I think Jack Holmes, we need to see him, and for Matt Hamshaw's sake, he needs to see him as well, see what he can do, because I think he's done all right in these last 2 games he started. I think he's done pretty well. So it's almost a 4-game trial for Jack Holmes to see what he's got, and hopefully we can see a positive player, because there's certainly a player in there. Even if he leaves us, I'm sure we'll go find a conference team very, very easily based on the season he's had. Right, let's nip over to the prediction league. I've deleted the thing. The table hasn't changed from last week because none of you predicted for us to beat Stockport, which is pretty amateur behaviour, if you ask me, to be honest with you. Tom was the closest. No, that was the Bolton game. No, you all went for victories.
No, I went 1-1.
No, you went for the Bolton game. Oh, you did. Apologies, Tom. You did go 1-1. It's still worthless, but you did go 1-1.
When we scored first, I was like, okay, this might come true.
So, as we mentioned last week, there is a rule change. Mick, you can't go for what Joy goes for. Because you could just copy her and stay 2 points ahead of her.
Yeah, he's not saying that you do anyway. He's just saying that, as a case in point. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to go for a different score, Mick, because you're top of the league. And if you go behind it, the same with Joy can't pick every person in the league, can't choose, because you could just manufacture it, and we're not fixing things here. So we have Ben has gone for a 2-0 victory. But remember, we'll play Mansfield at home. I've barely mentioned the word Mansfield. We're playing Mansfield at home tomorrow. Danny has gone for a 1-0 victory. I haven't checked with Kev, but I will. But I'm pretty sure he's going to go 3-0. Tom, 5 points off the top. Now or never, really.
Thanks.
It's a bit of a make or break weekend for the entire league, really. What's your prediction?
I've not really thought about this. 2-0 Rotherham.
Okay. Same as Joy and same as Ben?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah.
You knew it was same as Ben.
Well, ish, yeah.
Joy has also gone for a 2-0. Yeah. So, Mick, we have a 2-0, 3 2-0s, a 1-0 and a 3-0.
Right. So I can't go 2-0.
You can't go 2-0.
To be fair, I wouldn't have gone for that anyway.
No.
So I'm going to go, I think, probably 2-1 Rotherham.
Okay.
And I'm toying with the idea of 3-1, if I'm honest, but I'm going to stick with 2.
Are you having a look at Mansfield's last results?
I can tell you what they are if you want.
No, I'm quite. I
They've only won 1 away since January, and that was Bristol Rovers.
Yeah, but we know how we are with teams that haven't won away.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Oh God.
Harry says it's mathematically possible for Ben to get first. It's mathematically impossible for Ben and Kev to get first. Ben's on 15, Kev's on 17, Mick's on 30. Is the top spot. It's Easter weekend. Easter weekend is the weekend where things can happen normally in football, and it's instead of being in football, it's the New York Talk Prediction League. Couple of decent results where Joe doesn't have a couple of decent results, Mick, and the title could be yours by by 5 o'clock
Monday.
on Monday. By Monday, exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. Just to recap the points total. People are coming out in your supporting comments, Mick. I'll come to that.
Yeah.
Mick's on 30 points. Joy 2 points behind on 28. Danny and Tom are both 5 points behind Mick. So both Danny and Tom need a good weekend to stand any chance to win the title.
Have we seen who Mansfield's main striker is at the minute?
No?
Dom Dwyer. Dom Dwyer?
Tom Dwyer.
Dom Dwyer. Does anyone remember that name?
I do remember that name because he got constantly linked to us on deadline day.
Yeah, so maybe I might go with mine for 2-1 and even predict the goal scorer for them, because it would be pretty fairy tale-esque, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Kelly said, "This is unfair, Mick. You should be able to choose as long as you don't know Joy's prediction. I can't believe Matt told you Joy's prediction. What's all that about?"
Exactly, Kelly. I'm with you.
It's
I might have to go to court for arbitration for sport.
it's a conspiracy.
You can appeal to the board, but it's a very small board who will have a very quick decision for you.
Yeah.
Mick might have broke profit and sustainability rules and deduct 10 points. Absolutely.
So it's unlikely that, Mike. I don't have money to spend, so I'm not allowed money or access to it. So I can't have broke any rules in that regard.
You've all gone for wins again.
I know.
You can't predict a loss or a draw in this climate, can you? Come on.
You can if you're going for points.
Yeah, but I'm 5 points off. I'm going for vibes. I don't know.
It's been a long season. Just apologies, everybody. It's been a very long season. We're nearly there. Cheryl Stone says 2-1 to us. Corey Ale says 3-1. Mystic John Paranormal says 2-1. Terry from says 3. Harry says 2-0. Richard says 3-0. Steve says 3-1. Palmad going for the draw. Nathan Crabtree going with Johnson Clark Harris hat trick. And Katie Wilson going for a 4-2 victory to Rotherham United.
I don't know whether actually gone 3-1, you know. Anyway, it's so late now.
Yeah. I can't wait for it to be 3-1. I can't
wait.
I can't wait. I hope it's 90. I hope it's like 93 minutes.
That's vindictive, that, Tom. I think I'm being bullied here.
It's not because he needs that.
Sorry.
He needs you to not get 3 points.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I hope it's 2-0, but, you know.
Is there a podcast union I can complain to?
To be fair, Mick, even if it's 2-0, you will still be joint top. You'll still be top because of how many predictions you've got right.
Yeah, but it's taking it too close. I want to run away with this. I want to get it done. I want to get it done so I can wear my sombrero.
Brilliant. Okay, fair enough.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's not like it's live or anything, and people are going to forget about that. Right. A few stats for you. First time we've met Mansfield at home since a 3-2 victory in 2007. And ref watch, I always forget, but I've not this time. Ref watch is David Rock. The last time he refereed us was the infamous 3-0 defeat at Portsmouth in the promotion season. So that's quite a few years since the last referees. Tom's like us all, doesn't care, he's still buzzing. 4-0 to the Millers.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
It's all about having fun with it.
It's not the winning mentality, is it, Tom, that takes you to league titles?
No, I don't need it right now. My season's done. My season's complete. I'm just going off similar to us. I'm just going off vibes now. I just want to win. I just want us to perform well. Yeah.
Like I've spoken like a true fan.
Yep.
Yeah.
What I often called that.
See if you make your sombrero and the belt.
Oh, please. Oh,
yes. Please. Because when it's the last away game of the season, it's fancy dress. If you've sewn up the league title by the last game of the season, by the Stevenage game, you really ought to go in a sombrero whilst wearing the belt.
Yeah, let's not. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to draw attention to ourselves, do we? Really? Let's be fair.
Oh God.
Mystic John Paranormal says, "Does Matty get a beach shirt?" if Matt Hamshaw guy just a promotion next year, we will do beach shirt, Matt Hamshaw beach shirt. I promise.
I don't think I'm not convinced that's a good idea. It ended in tears last time.
Yeah, it was a bad omen.
It wasn't good. All right. Okay, we'll think of something else then. We'll think of something original.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
His own sombrero hat.
I might donate the belt if I win it.
What?
I say if I win the belt, I might donate it.
What, to Matt Hamshaw?
Yeah, if he gets it promoted, obviously.
Do you think Matt Hamshaw wants a New York Talk Ultimate Human / Genius wrestling belt?
Oh, maybe not.
Give him the belt.
No, sorry, you Ultimate Human / Rotherham United fan belt.
No, probably not.
It might not. It might. Well, we can ask the question, I suppose.
Yeah. When we get him on podcast. Oh wait. If.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to mention?
I think so.
Nothing for me.
Top stuff. Right. Thank you for watching. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. We managed to hit that target of the likes on the last episode. We asked for 75. We got 80 something. So thank you everybody who liked the last episode. Everybody's saying that Matt Hamshaw thinks that they think Matt Hamshaw will want a belt. You may have opened a can of worms here, Mick.
Yeah, sorry.
That ate out a lot of the podcast budget for the season, to be honest with you.
We've got a budget as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen a penny of this.
Oh, what are you saying?
Anyway, isn't it great? The podcast, how times have changed. Anyway, back to the likes. Make sure you've liked this video if you haven't done so already. Like I said, we hit with our highest ever number of likes on a live show on Tuesday. And this podcast, but still, we appreciate everybody that has liked it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you've subscribed because we're creeping up gradually to the next milestone. So thank you everybody who has been there. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or even on X, make sure you have followed us, give us a 5-star rating, retweeted, whatever the case may be, wherever your provider allows you to do so. Mick, Tom, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure. We will see everybody next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant. Mule with it. Wood's got around the back, and Richie Wood has done it again. The Magic Man has come up with another trick. Well, here's a chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly.